Welcome to We Digress with Joy and Jess. Join hosts and longtime friends Joy Simpson and Jess Perry as they tackle the stuff of life the only way they know how, with honesty, faith, and humor. This is We Digress with Joy and Jess. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of We Digress with Joy and Jess. I am Jess.
And I'm Joy.
Hello, hello.
My Mickey hands, don't they do that at Disneyland? I'm like, hi. I felt really weird just now.
These aren't spirit fingers. These are spirit fingers. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's Friday. Yay!
Yay. I know.
We record on Fridays.
We do record on Fridays, and this week has been weird to me. So my mom was off, and we went out to Ham Bones in Huntington Beach. Shout out to Ham Bones with the best brisket fried rice, because that's normal at a barbecue place, but it's so delicious. Like,
get out there.
It's one of the best ones. We went to the one in Huntington Beach because the one in Bellflower, which is a little closer to us, they weren't having their full menu on Monday, and I was like, that's whack. So we went to the one in Huntington Beach. So my days have been off. I totally forgot to do Women of Influence Wednesday until yesterday. So I was like, Women of Influence Wednesday on a Thursday. Tried to make it cute, but because it hit me like Thursday night, like, bro, it's Thursday.
Well, and I love that you chose her for your Women of Influence Thursday, because I have been following this whole Wendy Williams thing with
girl. So for those of you who don't follow us on social media, my Women of Influence Wednesday on a Thursday this week was Tabitha Brown, who is, if you don't know her, you should follow her. She has TikToks, IG, YouTube, all of it. She's super sweet, and she's super wholesome in a different way. Like, she's funny, she's relevant, but she doesn't change who she is for anyone. And yeah, this whole Wendy Williams saga, like, first of all, I don't like Wendy Williams. I'm not a fan of Wendy Williams. I never have been. I think she's toxic in a way, because her words absolutely hurt. And if people come for her, she wants to be upset about it. Well, she came for Tabitha over something that was completely not her business, number one. I'll just say that. For those of you, again, I urge you to follow Tabitha Brown. She's really great, Christian, funny actress, all of that. Now she has a seasoning with McCormick that sold out in 39 minutes of it being placed on the internet. It sold out in 39 minutes. So Tabitha Brown is an actor, and I guess 15 years ago, she and her husband made a deal. Like, she told him, give me 5 years to work on my career, to do whatever. And if it doesn't work, then it don't work, and we'll move on. They are originally from Georgia, I believe. So she has like this really thick Southern accent. But he was an LAPD officer. And now it didn't take 5 years. It took her about 15. And now she's in a place where she told him he can finally retire to pursue the other things that he wants to do. So Wendy Williams comes at her and was like, first of all, let me tell you, you shouldn't do that. And I did that to my husband, and they don't deserve it, and all this other stuff. First of all, everybody's situation is not your situation. That's number one. Your issues with your husband are your issues with your husband, and that's something that you allowed the world to know. But hers are completely different. They've been married for 20 plus years, been together more than that, have children together, and he supports her wholeheartedly in her career. And Tabitha's response,
oh my gosh, it was
the most epic, classy.
It was a master class.
He went off without going off, and it was the best go off I've ever heard in my entire life. I was like, now if I can be that holy on a go off, because my go off, I go left sometimes, like, because I'm that person, I hold things in, or I used to, and then I would just blow instead of just saying my boundaries of what I need. So I had to grow into that. But honey, I still haven't grown to where she is, because she did a masterclass on how to respectfully go off on someone, and it was amazing.
It was everything kind and gentle, but firm, and don't have his name in your mouth. Oh my gosh. I watched it 5 times.
Oh, and then put God in it. And then was like, and the difference, darling, between my situation and your situation, I'm paraphrasing, is we keep God at the center of our relationship.
She's
And
not wrong. I
I
mean,
pray that you find the love that can really, she like,
oh
I was like,
man.
preach, Tabitha, preach. Like it was
See,
the best. If I didn't like her before, I loved her even more now. So I chose for her to be the women of influence, not just because of the go off, but because she really is amazing. And she's a story of someone who just kept trusting God,
right,
having faith in him as well as in herself. And voila, she
right.
is where she is.
And
When
if you
you're
ever need to know how to drag someone in Jesus' name, there you
right,
go.
because
Yeah.
now there's also people on TikTok who are not so graceful, saying this is what Tabitha was really saying, and they have a whole like string of like not so beautiful holy words to say
Right.
for Wendy Williams. But then Wendy Williams also got in trouble this week
Oh yeah,
because
I very, very
the
quickly saw that.
TikToker who passed away,
Yeah.
she talks about him on her social media and on her show, and the first thing she brings up is the fact that he had more followers than her.
I
First of
saw.
all, who cares? That's number one. Number two, if you is the first thing about a young man who died, and the first thing out of your mouth is, so there's this guy, and apparently he had more followers than me on TikTok, and blah 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 blah. I didn't even listen to the whole thing because one, I don't like her. Two, I was just like, even when she was, everybody knows I love the Masked Singer. She was on the Masked Singer. I'm so glad she was only on for one episode. One, I knew her voice because she couldn't sing. So when she was singing, it sounded like when she was talking. And literally, her costume was a big old pair of lips. Her clues in her costume made total sense. And I was like, Mom, it's Wendy Williams. She was like, really? And then she started singing. She said, oh, yeah, that's Wendy Williams. And then she started singing like about New York because she's from New York. I think it was like, it's up to you, New York. That song. Start spreading the news.
Yeah.
Anyway, my non-singing sounded better than her singing. My non-singing, but anyway, I'm just not a fan of hers, and I know this will be on the internet and whatever. Don't come for me if you are a Wendy Williams fan, but Tabitha Brown, she killed
I'm just at a point in my life where I I don't I don't enjoy people who like drag other people unnecessarily. Like, and
right,
I don't mean like for Wendy Williams, like that we're dragging her or anything, but it's like don't don't do why.
right.
I understand that you need to be somewhat controversial in order to like
Stay relevant and do your
relevant
job.
in your job,
Hmm.
but like why you got to come for this lady and her husband? Like she's not hurting you. Like she's not doing anything.
Right.
And
It shows the bitterness of not healing from your own situation.
yeah,
To me, that's what that was
it
because
it makes her
there
seem
are
very
situations where
tragic.
guys do use women to do those things.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not rich and I've had dudes do it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, digress moment real quick. My 40th birthday party is coming up. We're planning the party. The party planner, who is also a friend of mine, kind of a big sister, she suggests someone for a DJ. I said no to that DJ because I dated that DJ and I'm the person who taught that DJ how to do his business. I taught him how to do contracts. I taught him how to ask for what he's worth. I taught him a lot of things in that situation. Not that we're not cool. Like we see each other. It's like, hey, how you doing? He's doing really well. He's doing seminars on engineering and sound now and all this stuff. But I'm the one who backed him when like not a lot of people believed in him, helped him take care of some things financially. Do it. So I get it. I understand that. That was also when Joy was not in a good self-esteem, loving herself place. But I understand that bitter part and how that comes from. But that's why I can say it's not from a healed place. Because if you were okay and healed from your situation, that wouldn't have been the first thing you said and looked at because everybody's situation is not the same. Period.
Well, you know, it's funny because so Sunday at church, my pastor, my whole message was about bitten but not bitter, and she's talking
Mm-hmm.
about the Apostle Paul in Acts 28, I think it is. I'm real
Mm-hmm.
bad with references, but it's basically it's the
Me
story.
too.
It's the story when they get shipwrecked on the island of Malta, and Paul gets bitten by the snake, and like all this stuff happens, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
he had every opportunity to be bitter about his circumstances, but he chose not to be. And it's like like I feel like that's just like the perfect compliment. Like we can be bitter about our circumstances, or we can choose to be above that and to be better in our
Mm-hmm.
circumstances, even when our
Mm-hmm.
circumstances aren't good. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it's so this week on one of my church communicator Facebook groups, there was a one of the people on the group who's probably either a marketing manager or a church communicator or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
but apparently doesn't do graphics, which a lot of us do graphics, comes on
Mm-hmm.
the thing and is like, hey, my family, we're finalizing the adoption of our daughter today after like 373 days in foster care.
Mm.
And I don't know how to create a graphic. Can somebody help me out? And I was one of the first people that there, and I was like, I got you. I'll make a graphic. She had posted this
Mm-hmm.
picture of a beautiful little girl, and I just went on my little software and made the graphic for her. And the thought occurred to me, like, that's the thing that I want most in the world. I can choose to bless somebody else in that, or I can get sad that it's not me. And
Right.
it's like, you know what?
Right.
If I become bitter in my circumstances, if I had become bitter in my singleness, if I became bitter in my childlessness, if I become bitter in my non-ministry existence, if I become
Mm-hmm.
bitter in any number of things, then I'm not exhibiting what it means to be a woman of faith, because
Right.
you can't be a woman of faith and be bitter. Um, it's easy to
Right.
do,
Mm-hmm. It
but
is very,
yeah, you can't
even when
do
you
it.
are a woman of faith, it's not always easy.
Oh
So
no,
just
it's hard.
imagine someone who doesn't have a relationship with God, coming for someone who does. I think that's the difference and that's the balance. But like you said, I don't like when anybody comes for anything, for anyone, or drag them for anything. And I guess that's the naive part of me at times, because even in movies, like I won't like certain characters though I know they're doing their job. There's that old saying, if you hate them by the end of the movie, they did their job, they're a really great actor. And yeah, that's true, but I don't like it. I don't like when you are deceitful and planning to like take someone down. Um, Probably why I haven't finished the movie. I care a lot yet, because it's a movie about this lady who basically makes her fortune on taking elderly people's money. She takes over guardianship of
Mhm.
these people. Most of them don't have families, some of them do. But when the families sue her, she still wins. She has the elderly homes in her pocket, she has judges in her pocket so far. And she's like taking over these people's lives. And it bothers me because I'm just like, how do people think this way? Like, because
Hashtag free
somebody
Britney.
really is doing this. You know what I'm saying? There's literally somebody doing this in the world. So yeah, I know some things are just movies and characters, but I'm just like, I don't like it.
The only thing that I'm allowing myself to be slightly bitter and definitely petty over is Fireworks.
Girl,
Yeah.
I'm so over fireworks. I don't know why they were created. I don't know why they're synonymous with the 4th of July. I know the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air. We should have left it at that. Like,
Yeah, this
you
is
know,
not the Battle of Baltimore.
this
We
is
good.
not, we're good. And it's so funny, 4th of July, because we told you guys we're recording this the weekend after 4th of
After.
July. There's a lot of wokeness also going on around 4th of July now. And please, Black community, do not come at me. Um, as much as I was excited about Juneteenth, and I am, though that story was drama at the wedding about Juneteenth. But my sister and I had our own celebrations in Vegas, and we talked about it, and we talked about some things about it, that some stuff she knew that I didn't know. Some, we
Mhm.
had a moment, because growing up, though I knew about Juneteenth and it was a date in the calendar, everybody was just like, oh, it just pertains to the South. So really, like, we don't have to focus on that, until I got older and learned some things. So I'm all about Juneteenth. I'm glad it's a federal holiday. But then you have people who are like, I'm not celebrating July 4th because I celebrated Juneteenth, or I'm going to do Juneteenth part two. And the reality is this, though I don't like a lot of things about America and the way it treats people of color, women, all of the gamuts of what America can do. Um, but every country has its issues. Um, and I found that even in France, they're racist. You know what I'm saying? So um, every country has their issue. And this is the country I live in. And though I may not have a big, gigantic 4th of July party and pop fireworks, I am still going to say happy 4th of July because there's even people who are like refusing to even say it. Like, well, and I just happened to have on red and blue that day. I literally did not. If you go to my Facebook, there's pictures, Facebook or Instagram, there's pictures of me at church and at my family's barbecue cookout thing. I had on red and blue on both things and totally did not do it on purpose. I honestly was just trying to be comfortable, to be honest with you.
It was
Not
fun.
that there was anything wrong with wearing the colors, but then I had like my cousin was on Facebook talking about like, oh, this is my look for today because I'm not celebrating the 4th. She had on like neon pinks and greens and stuff. And then, I mean, I've heard some different people like I said, Juneteenth part two. So I just want to say, though I am proud of who I am and my race and everything else, I am also an American. And America's not perfect, and neither race is perfect. And I just was like, I'm not. Literally have had people ask, even in the last few years, like, why would you put Happy 4th of July? And I'm like, because it's the 4th of July. I may not, be all about some of the things that come with it, but anyway. And then there's my other thing is it's a time for people to any holiday, whether you want to celebrate it or not, if there's an opportunity to hang out with family and enjoy each other, why not? Like I actually had a good time in my aunt's house, and I don't always. And we had a really good time. We took my grandmother's sister's house, and we just had a good time. But we came home a little early because 4th of July is also Annoy Joy and her family day
Right.
by my
Well,
neighbors.
you sent me those videos and I was like, what the fresh hell is this? Like,
Yeah. So how we got the topic for today, guys, is because on the 4th of July, I'm texting Jess and I'm like, 4th of July sucks in my house. Pray for me because our neighbors are always insane. She was like, oh gosh, I'm praying. So when we drove back home, I sent her a video of the street. Now, it's not a block party. It's literally one neighbor's house. My neighbor's to the right of me. We love them. They've lived there forever. But their kids and grandkids and now great grandkids come over and throw this ginormous 4th of July party. And I mean, they had
it
porta
was
potties.
nuts.
They had a hand washing station outside, which is fine, do your thing. They had tents, but there's also double parking in the street. People in my yard, people
That was
within
crazy.
chairs in my driveway, in my walkway. At one point, there were people sitting on our porch, and we had to go talk through the microphone on the ring and ask them to leave. It is insane. The music was blaring loud. I had a migraine like no other. Fireworks went on. And these fireworks these days, they're not just pretty little,
Oh
you
no,
know,
there's
these
nothing safe and
fireworks,
sane about them.
these fireworks are like bombs. It sounded like we were in a war torn country. Like and I don't know if it was like that in Orange County, but LA was and has been for the last several years. Like the fireworks have gotten louder and bangier and boomier and whatever else. And usually we don't stay home on the 4th. We were home last year because, lockdown or whatever. And they still had their thing, but nowhere near as bad. I was like, the lockdown's over. It's going to be insane. And we were going to not be home, but because we were going to take a trip the following month, I was like, well, let's not waste money on a hotel
Right.
for 4th of July and just save it for our trip or whatever. It was a mess. And then, so I sent Jessica the video and another friend of mine, and I was just like, this is what I'm dealing with. And this is what's happening. And tell them what you saw from your end,
Oh,
not
it
just
was
me.
it was crazy. I mean, there were people and there was trash and it was chaos. It was almost like those videos you see of like there was so much haze in the air. It was like those videos you see in protest when there's like pepper spray, like, and the haze that you see out of that. Like, that's what your front porch looked like. And I was like, that's insane. And I showed it to John and he was like, what? Like, and when I told him that people were on your porch, he was so mad for you. Like, we were both just like, I wanted to go down there and be like, what are you thinking?
No, it was so bad. Like my cousins, so when we were leaving my aunt's house, I showed them on, the Ring on the app, what was already going on. And our thing was, if we don't get home within the next like 30 to 40 minutes, we probably wouldn't be able to get on our street because they treat the street like it's a parking lot. And I don't know if you saw all the cars that were like for real double parked. And my cousins were like, you FaceTime me when you get home. I need you to video call and let me know like you guys have made it safe. And they need to know that you have family and we're not afraid to come handle things if you need to. So my other side of my family is a little more they'll throw hands and I won't. So
As an aside, this popped up in my TikTok feed this morning. That song where it's they remade the one from Frozen. It's like, do you want to touch these hands?
I've seen that one. It's hilarious.
That's my favorite. Anyways, I continue. I digress again.
Yeah, I sent you that just because I was like, so you could see the magnitude of
it was crazy. And I'm like, how is that? I mean, I just thought like, that's not safe. If someone needs to get a fire engine down there because that's like a tinderbox waiting to go up, medical emergency, you couldn't get an ambulance down there, like all that kind of stuff. I'm like, the fact that,
and then you don't want to call the cops because you're like,
right,
that can be a dangerous situation on all parts, honestly. Right. And so you're like, come on, guys. It's the good thing is my mom didn't have to work because there was one year where she had to work the next day and they were doing it and she just went outside and just went off. But still, it was hot and it was a lot. And eventually I did. I had taken for pain my CBD, and so I was in a relaxed state, and I eventually went to sleep. But it took me a minute to even with that to be able to relax in my own bedroom because I can still hear it in my bedroom. In the living room, it was worse, of course. But my bedroom, I was just like, come on, guys. Like, and then, of course, it's not just that. Why do we pop fireworks 3 months before 4th of July and then another 3 months after? Like, why do you even have that much money? Like, you're literally blowing up money in the air. Literally. Like, it's not. Like, why? And our church used to run a fireworks stand. So the 4th of July, for most of my life, from like 13 to 20 something, I was at the fireworks stand. Now I couldn't work inside until I was 18. So me and my friend Steven, we would be like passing out flyers, telling people to come. But we sold the like TNT safe and sane type
like little
situation. So once we stopped doing that, then we started actually like being able to go places on Father's Day, Lord Jesus, 4th of July. And it was kind of weird because I was so used to working the fireworks stand. So I was just like, what do we do on 4th of July? Like, oh, we go to people's house. Oh, we eat barbecue. Like, I don't, like, I don't know. I didn't know what to do. And then we started going to, of course, my uncle's house for a while because the kids, we do stuff with them. And then we would stay in Orange County, or some years we wouldn't even do that. We would just, like I said, get a hotel somewhere in LA and just chill and do the pool and all of that stuff. So when we are home and experience this madness, it's irritating. And then the fireworks that go on before and after, it's not just my street, it's all over, but you can still hear it. You can hear fireworks from blocks away. So I'm just like, why are you still popping fire? Like it's the 8th now. Like, let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, I mean, so like in Brea, fireworks are illegal. Every kind of firework. Doesn't matter if it's safe and sane, you're not allowed.
So is Los Angeles, by the way. Let me put that disclaimer out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I'm not surprised, but who was it? Tim Conway from KFI, like he pops up in my Instagram feed every once in a while, and he showed a video of like just like from their helicopter on the 4th of July, and it looked like a freaking war zone. I mean, it was literally every 2 seconds. I was like, holy cow. Yeah. But like, so we don't have fireworks. City of Fullerton does allow the Safe and Sane fireworks. And literally our neighborhood, if you go down our street, like if you make the left right by our house and you just keep going for like maybe a quarter mile, it's the City of Fullerton. So like if this street is the same, we're right next door. And so there will be people in our neighborhood on the Fullerton side of our neighborhood who will set them off. And they're far enough away that we can hear them. It's not usually bad. The problem is we got neighbors like right next door behind us, like 2 houses behind us, and then up the street. I am not exaggerating when I say that every time a firework goes off, a neighborhood gets a Karen. Because I was ready to I literally at one point was standing in front of my house on the 3rd of July. I was standing in front of my house with my video camera trying to catch whoever the jerk was that was setting off fireworks down the alley across the street from our house.
That's
and I'm
crazy.
taking video. There's video because the PD won't do anything because they'll drive around, but if they don't see you doing anything, they can't do anything about it. And the problem is my poor dog is a rescue.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like loud noises and he doesn't like feet because we think he's been kicked and we think he's been abused and all this kind of stuff. So,
I didn't know that part.
We know he's been abused and we know we strongly suspect that he was kicked.
Sidebar, who can abuse first of all, your dog is adorable. I showed somebody, my hairstylist, a picture of me holding Lucky at the photo shoot. Because he's just so cute.
He's so
how
sweet.
could you? I don't understand abuse in general, but how can you do that? Whether it's humans or dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The extended family of the people that we got him from, extra members of God's creation, let's put it that way. And then they had rescued him from a bad situation. So this poor dog has had 3 lives and 2 of them have not been great. And John and I are determined that number 3 is going to rock to the best of our ability. He's going to be as spoiled as we can.
You guys are definitely good to him. So
I mean, sure. as he chills in his little fluffy extra fluff bed over here, he's just.
Hey, I'm down with an extra fluffy bed too myself, so I get it.
He's got one of those soft cocoon beds.
Love it.
We're not spoiling him at all. Anyways. The fireworks freak him out, and my dog does not bark. He does not bark at all, except when he's scared or when he doesn't know. He barks at the gardener, and he barks when he has the blower. He doesn't like the blower sound. So and then he barks at the fireworks.
Yeah, Dempsey, my doggy cousin doesn't like.
Yeah,
he doesn't like the gardener at all.
Gardener is a bad man. And our gardener is the sweetest man. He's so sweet. We love Nacho. Anyways, but so I'm annoyed because it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm not ready for bed yet, kind of sort of falling asleep because I'm in my late 30s. Don't judge. We all but my dog is losing his mind and there's not much I can do for him because the fireworks, the video, when you see the video, someone shoots a firework off, and you've seen my house. I literally live on kind of a base, a fairly busy street that's a through street, and it's but there are houses across the street that back up to an alley, and so the garages are in the alley, right? Someone in that alley shot a firework off, and it's not the Safe and Sane one. It is a professional large grade firework. And it went off directly over my head about 50 feet in the air. I said bad words.
I would have to, honestly.
John was like, we showed the video to my parents. And I said, we loudly whispered bad word. And which everyone thought was hilarious because I generally don't curse.
Say bad words at all.
I try very much to not to speak wholesome things out of my mouth. But I'm sorry. And if you had a firework that big go off 50 feet above your head, you would have said bad words too. Which when my mom heard it and saw where it was, she was like, oh yeah. But
for your mom to say
yeah,
that means it was serious.
I was so pissed. And there's no other word. I could say angry. I will not angry. I was pissed. And like,
Yeah,
I came
I
up with
feel
these
you.
very elaborate, when I figured out who this person was, I had very elaborate revenge stories like built up in my mind for the things that I wanted to do, like come at them. And I have a few that I'd like to share with you because I think you actually know who your culprits
Yes.
are and you could really do some good work with them.
So we were discussing these situations about the fourth,
Yeah.
and so Jess starts giving me revenge like tips, right?
Yeah.
And then she says, "Yeah, I have a whole plethora of them." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Wait, don't tell me. Let's talk about it on the show." So
Yeah.
we like to surprise each other, though we talk
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
We will surprise each other on the show when we have things we don't want to know in advance. So I haven't heard, except for maybe one, I haven't heard any of these. So my reaction is a genuine
Right.
reaction.
So
I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there.
here's your supply list. You're gonna need an extension cord.
The supply list. I'm sorry, that was funny.
I'm like, where's your pen and pencil? Write this down. There'll be a quiz later. Okay. You're gonna need an extension cord. I recommend one that's grounded because you're gonna need that little third prong in there, a little ground prong. Depending on the space between your home and their home, I'm gonna guess you're gonna need like, I don't know, 25 feet. So then you're gonna need a big speaker, preferably one with some real strong like bass response, like a good subwoofer is really what I'm thinking you're gonna need. Powered because you're gonna want to crank that. And then you're gonna need a recording of Fireworks and like the cringiest loud music you can find. So I'm like whatever you can think of that's just like real cringe but super loud with a good bass beat. And then you're gonna go in your computer, you're gonna download Audacity, and then you're gonna overlay Fireworks onto the cringe music, and you're gonna real crank the bass on that so it's super annoying. Then
You have really thought this out.
I told you I have elaborate revenge fantasies. This is how I soothe myself before I like actually go out and do it. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that speaker and you're gonna like sneak out of your house at 3 a.m. So this is gonna require a little sacrifice on your part, but I believe it will be worth it deep in my spirit. You're gonna take the speaker and you're gonna take your phone or whatever, however you're going to play, whatever mechanism you're gonna play the music through, what you've connected to the, however, Bluetooth, whatever. And then you're gonna place the speaker directly against the wall of their like master bedroom, like that main bedroom where they're asleep. And then this is why you need the extension cord because you're gonna not want to be there. It's gonna be loud. You're gonna crank that sucker to 11. You're going to crank your phone to 11. And then you're going to play that cringe music. Dog barking, fireworks, whatever it is that's super loud up against their house, right? That's what it's going to be. And you're just going to crank it real loud. Hopefully it starts off with just one giant boom. That's, I mean, in my brain, it's like, boom, And then, sorry for everybody who's listening to this with headphones. I apologize for what I just did. And then you're going to let that, like, whatever cringe music it is, like, I don't know, like Tuvan throat singing, something that's just like real weird.
Throat singing.
You remember Tuvan throat singing from ethnomusicology?
Yeah. That was from our ethnomusicology.
It's actually
days.
incredibly amazing. It's amazing. It's an incredible skill.
It's a very odd, but satisfying thing to watch, actually.
It totally is. But I feel like for the uninitiated, people would be like, what the H is that? Like, I feel like it would be appropriate. Or like something that's just like real, like bad, just real bad. William Hung, if you want to play some William Hung from American Idol, taking it way on back. Like this is. Did I ever tell you a story about how when John and I were dating, we were at dinner with John and his brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and we were playing William Hung songs on my Rhapsody account when I used to have Rhapsody before it became Napster. And then it ruined my, like the AI, like the algorithm got ruined for me because it always wanted to play William Hung from that point forward. And I was like, guys, I don't want to listen to William.
It's your fault. You did it to yourself.
Yeah, I did it to myself. I had to actually switch over to.
I have forgotten. I haven't even heard that name in a very long time.
There's a little blast from the past. So yeah, so that's my revenge fantasy. 3 a.m. Just wake them up out of sound sleep, crank it, and then be nowhere to be found. Just like It's even better if you could somehow get your hands on a generator so it just appears in their yard and they can't trace where it's like powered
Now we're
through.
adding generators to the situation.
I mean, unless they've got some kind of outdoor power situation, in which case so much the better. Plug into their own power, let them pay for it. But yeah, so that's my first revenge fantasy, because that's what I would like to do
That's
to
an
my
interesting
neighbors.
one.
Yeah.
That is an interesting one. Before we get into story two, I do want to say one thing you mentioned, about Lucky and the dogs. I think I have been posting at least for the last 5 to 7 years because it didn't even register in my brain until then that people with PTSD
Yeah.
or and animals and even small
Yeah.
children,
It
I always
terrifies them.
pray for them because that is terrifying. I remember one time we didn't stay in Orange County and we drove home and we were like getting into like the LA area and you just see bombs and smoke. It was for real. I was like, did I move to Baghdad and like not know? Like, am I in a war? Like, what is going on? And I think it was that night that it hit me that the Lord laid on my heart to pray. And my thing is, why are we not considerate? We
That's the
don't think
thing
about
that
other
drives me
people
nuts.
when it comes to these kinds of things. Like, why are we not considerate? Like, we wouldn't even have to make up revenge fantasies if people would be more considerate in the world. And so this year I added, be considerate along with I'm praying for you. But for those of you who are getting these fireworks from God knows where, and so Inglewood and LA are like Fullerton and Brea, like
Right.
on the so it's legal in Inglewood, safe and sane. Culver City, I think it's illegal, which is near Inglewood. Like there's like every other city in LA, it's legal in
Right.
LA County. But my city, my street, you would think that, but when they don't see it, or sometimes the cops just don't want to deal, so they just kind of let it be. And I'm like, there's literally people who can't sleep. Like, I know there's tiny humans on my street. The people across the street from me have like a 2-year-old and she's adorable. And I'm like, and they have a dog. And then the people to my left have the front house has a dog, the back house has a dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't.
And the thing is, like, I'm on Nextdoor for our neighborhood. I don't go on there much because it's but I was on there this week. I had the last time I was on there was when we found half a cat on our front lawn on Mother's Day. Thanks, coyotes. But I was on
No.
there because yeah, there's a story there too. Did I not tell you that?
I don't remember that. I would
Yeah.
have remembered a half a cat. Like,
Yeah,
one, I don't like cats. But two, I don't think they should be half eaten by coyotes.
Yeah,
So
it
that,
was super fun. 10 out of 10 would
Mother's Day of all things. That's if I believed in omens, I'm like, what kind of omen is this?
Let's have a dead cat on the barren woman's front lawn. It's a great
It's it's dark. It's very dark.
It's super dark. There's a slot there. We can talk about that later. But like, someone next door, and someone had posted about the neighbor on the fireworks, and there is literally every time someone posts about fireworks, all these people like, it's basically like when you were in elementary school and like the jocks would make fun of kids for not being cool, like the smart kids. And as one of the smart kids, I was constantly being made fun of for not being cool, quote unquote, which is like whatever. But that's the excuse.
And what is
It's like
cool at this
being
point?
right. It's like being back in junior high because someone's like, "You're such killjoys. Why can't you just let people have fun?" Maybe because it terrifies kids who don't have a framework of reference for the scary loud noises. Same with dogs.
Right.
And it triggers PTSD for people who have been in abusive or who are coming out of the military. Like, it's just like you said, it's not kind. And yet the response is, you guys aren't cool. You won't let us have fun. No, it's not that. It's we have respect for other people in our neighborhood. We've chosen to live in a community in which this is not allowed. And we would like for it to continue to be not allowed. If you want to light off fireworks, go live in Fullerton. It's a block and a half away. Like, that's the community where it's allowed. Go to that community, live in that community, and then deal with the consequences there.
Right.
But we live in a
Right.
city where it's not allowed for a reason. We live here
Right.
for a reason. Like, we were very specific when we purchased our home, and God was very gracious with us in purchasing our home to live where we do, so that we don't have to deal with it.
Right. I mean, and in our situation, my neighbors, all of their kids and grandkids have moved out. They come over all the time, whatever, like, because their
Right.
sons I grew up with, because we lived on the street when I was younger. So it's my grandparents' house. We took over the house, blah, blah, blah. And it's a whole nother story for another day. But anyway, they come over and do this every year, including when the mom was like, I don't really want to do this no more. Because her and my mom are around the same age. They're really cool. Like, they look out for us. Like, if we get packages and we're not going to be home for a while, we'll call her and be like, can you make sure you take the packages to your house, and we'll pick them when we get back up? Or,
Right.
if, for instance, something is going on and we're not home and my grandmother's home, we'll call them. Like, can you tell her to do XYZ, because they'll come knock on the door and talk, and then her mother-in-law, which is her husband's mother, she lives in their back house. So there's elderly people that they know are there. Their own great grandmother flipping lives in the house, and and it's not, I'm not saying that that family and their children are disrespectful. It's the disrespect of your people. And the fact that you have people coming on over that are disrespectful, you need to evaluate your friendships and your family members and things like that. Because if you're gonna, who just goes to somebody's house? Their house is next door. Why are you in my yard? Why are you in
Yeah.
front of my house? Why do you have a chair set up by my storage bin?
It's
Why?
like, why? I don't understand the mentality that people are just like, I can do whatever I want. I swear we've gone feral as a society. Like,
Right.
we've just lost our
Right.
minds. We
And the
we
good
are
thing is,
so selfish as humanity.
as humans, yeah, humanity is selfish in general. And I know I can be. So I really do try to watch it. But like you said, as a whole, humanity is selfish. And being in lockdown and COVID for over a year has not helped that
No,
situation for
it has
people.
not.
It has made people worse. It has made people either extremely like rebellious and just not compassionate. And I know we talked about that in the last episode. I will say the good thing is, as much crap that happened on 4th of July, and how I even sent Jess a picture the day after, and the aftermath of, we had fireworks behind our bushes. We've the good thing is we left and did whatever. We came back and everything was cleaned up, because they did come back the next morning, afternoon, and cleaned up our yard, the son and his kids and things like that. So they did clean it up, but that doesn't excuse everything else. I mean, I'm grateful. I'm glad they always do. My mom ends up covering our car in like a blanket, because fireworks, not only are they just, I don't know where y'all are getting them these days, but they leave the worst like
Yeah.
ash and like burn marks everywhere now. And then, do you guys realize that the ER hates, people that work in the ER hate the 4th of July?
Oh yeah.
They said there's two holidays. I remember talking to a friend who was a nurse in the ER, and she said, two holidays I hate the most: Christmas Eve, no, three. It was Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and 4th of July, because she said they get the most cases. And a lot of them is because somebody has blown their thumb off with some fireworks,
Mm-hmm.
or, and the thing is, you guys are also operating these things drunk and
Oh,
drinking alcohol. And I'm like,
I mean, there are so many fires, and that's the thing. Like, we have a lot of trees in our neighborhood. They're big trees, and they hang over houses.
mhm,
Like, like, this used to be like orange groves. Our whole neighborhood was orange groves
right,
back in the
right.
day, and so there were trees that were established as windbreaks, and a lot of them were like kept when they built
Hmm.
houses. So we've got a
Hmm.
lot of really tall trees. We happen to have a very tall tree in the front of our house. How tall do you think that tree is? Like 50 feet tall? Like, it's pretty tall.
Yeah, it's a pretty tall tree.
40, maybe not quite that tall. I might be exaggerating. I don't.
It's pretty tall
It's
though.
like, it's at least 30 feet
It's at
tall.
least, yeah.
Yeah. To where like we have to, like, guys have to get up in the tree with harnesses to trim it. Like, they have to like anchor in when we get the tree trimmed. Like, it's not a little thing to do. It's above the roof line of our house. And it's more than 2 stories tall, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And if that catches fire, our house catches fire and our neighbor's house catches fire.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
No consideration.
we're not just being killjoys. We're concerned about our safety. We don't light things off like that for a reason, because we know it's not safe to do. We are also in mega drought in the state of California. Like, stuff is dry. We live in a foothill area. Like, that's why fireworks aren't allowed, because one little spark, and those things can travel up to 3 miles. Sparks from stuff can travel up to 3 miles, and our entire hillside is on fire, and it closes down freeways. Like, that's just what we do. And so it's like, people just, it drives me. We are losing empathy as a society. We are losing our ability to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. And what do they say about sociopaths? That they lack empathy. We are growing a society of sociopaths, narcissistic
no, for real.
sociopaths.
So, like, there's a whole thing on TikTok about narcissists. Like,
oh yeah,
I keep seeing these story times about like people's families who like did like these weird things, because it's like they mix it with that whole like tell me a secret. You know, it's like that one stitch where it's like tell me a secret that you didn't know about your family until you grow up. And there's been some insane. I mean, even one girl was like, whose mom got $4,000 plus $40,000 to not have any more children after me, and still had another one. Was like my mom, you know, like that whole like thing. And I'm like, people do these things, like, this is crazy.
Like, I've dealt with narcissists, right? So I know all this like stuff, and I've dealt with them in the church world. That's a whole other story.
That's another story for another day, because honey,
right? But
we have some stories.
Yes. But like, you know, you have to have empathy as a society. And
it's not a Christian thing or a non-Christian thing. It's just a human thing. Like, come on.
And we have this rapid spiral of vitriol and anger, and my opinion is right, and you are wrong, I am right. There's only one way to see the world, and it is through my eyes. This mentality, and it just feeds and it feeds and it feeds and it feeds. And instead of having empathy and coming together and understanding what the other person is like, we then find ourselves pushed further and further and further apart. And then we wonder why our world is so annoying and so crappy. It's because of fireworks. That's what I'm saying. Our world is bad because of fireworks. It's what I'm saying.
I just got really close to the camera. I'm sorry, but I was not expecting that. But you're right. I mean, because the thing is, like, when did we just start doing fireworks for like all the holidays? Because now it's Memorial. It used to only be 4th of July. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Father's Day. They was popping them on Mother's Day. I mean, why?
Spoiler alert, your mom don't want fireworks. No mom wants fireworks.
And the thing is, like you said, like, it's the world we're blaming, you know, each generation for each thing, you know, like what's the people under us? Gen Zers?
Gen Zers.
Yeah, you know, and I hear a lot of blame on the Gen Zs, but there's a lot of boomers who have this kind of non-empathetic, you know, and there's millennials, older and younger millennials, that have this non-empathetic. It's not a generational thing. Granted, some of the Gen Zers are a little far in their thought, and they're very much trying to cancel the world between, like, the sky isn't exactly blue. It is more of a sky marine blue. And you said that it was straight blue, and there's so many different shades of blue in the world, and I don't understand. And you need to be canceled because you don't understand colors. Like, we do have those people in the world, and unfortunately, even though I said that as a joke, there's probably somebody really thinking that, and I'm
it's funny to me, like, on TikTok, I watch people I'm not gonna lie, there's a little schadenfreude that happens for me. Like, people who are super woke about everything, about the
Yeah, I'm
color
like,
of the
give it a
sky,
break.
right? Eventually, they all eat their own. Like, it comes for them.
Hmm.
And in scripture, we have a premise for this, because scripture says that the standard which you use to judge others will be the standard by which you yourself are judged. And um and so in my brain, I'm like, you come for everybody else, they're going to come for you. Like, there's not
Yep.
going to be anybody left to defend you because you've come for them already. Like, and the
That's that
fact that
one
we now
guy.
have in our vernacular, don't come for me, but
Yeah, like we even in season one, because we're in season two now, we said that a lot. Like, don't come for me, but I'm gonna say. And unfortunately, that is literally a sentence you have to say now, even though they'll still probably come for you or don't at me or
don't at me. Yeah.
whatever. You have to. It's now become a common thing, and you can't voice your opinion because I'm sure there's some people who probably disagree about my irritation about Fourth of July and fireworks, and specifically my neighbors. And that's fine. Have a dialogue. That is what conversation is about. That is what Jessica and I don't always agree on things. That would make an extremely boring show if we agreed on everything,
Right.
or even partnership, or even our meetings when we talk about things that we're doing. If we just yes ma'amed each other and we're like yes men for each other, then we would never get anything accomplished because we don't really have any great foundation. And if your friends and your family can't have a conversation with you because you feel like you're being attacked all the time, that is kind of a problem. It's a problem. And that's
Innovation.
probably a conversation for another day. But
Right.
I'm just saying,
Right.
like you said, I know I started this, like, don't come at me, even about the Juneteenth and 4th of July thing.
Right.
Don't come at me. I'm just saying how I feel. I'm celebrating both. And it's not like, and even on 4th of July, it's not like I go outside and like a cowboy hat and a American flag and some boots. Like, I'm not like, although if I lived in the South, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also used to be, before I learned some things, I was that person who had to go to Old Navy every year and get her 4th of July shirt. Like, I had to have a 4th of July shirt.
Well,
But
and
growing over the years and learning some things and getting in about culture and some of the realities of America and things like that, I'm not as zealous, but I'm not celebrating that because blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not me.
well, and why can't there be a space for celebrating a country that allows itself to grow and change and become better? Like,
Well, yeah.
why is that a bad thing? Like, here's the thing, like, innovation and change and growth come from difficulty and from conflict and from
Hmm.
disagreement, right?
Hmm.
If we never
Hmm.
disagree, there's no need to grow and there's no need to change and there's no need to
Hmm.
innovate and there's no
Hmm.
problems to solve and nothing ever gets better. If there's nothing to fix, we get stagnant, right? And
Hmm.
so how like incredibly privileged are we as a society here in America that we have the luxury of discussing these high level um microaggressions and things of that. And that's not to say that they're not important, but we could
Because,
be
yeah,
struggling, we could
definitely
be on a
are.
much different struggle bus and
Hmm.
barely making and barely surviving as people. And so instead of seeing that as a luxury and an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to change and innovate and become better versions of ourselves and better versions of our country,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
accepting that and celebrating that and being like, look, we're in this together, we're going to figure it out, we're going to do our
Hmm.
best to make things better. Instead, we just want to bitch and moan about how bad everything is. And it's like we have
Hmm.
lost our perspective and we have lost
Right.
the value of conflict.
Well, and it's unfortunate. I was having a conversation with another group of African American friends of mine, and the fact that the word patriot has now become a trigger word for an entire culture, because um, some, not all, right wing people say and have put out there that if you're a liberal and you're a Democrat, then you're not a patriot and you're not, you don't love your country and all these things. So there's a lot of miscommunication out there that have caused this. And so now patriot has a whole different meaning than it's had my entire life because we have people just saying stuff out the top of their heads. You can be a liberal and be a Democrat or independent or whatever and still love your country. That has nothing to do with whether you love it or you're patriotic or not. My mom and I had this conversation too. She's like, I'm tired of that. I'm tired. And one of the people that gets on my nerves saying it, Megan McCain. She runs me. I actually inboxed her one day, not because I thought she was going to read it. I just was so irritated at something she said that I needed to like get it out. For someone who wants to say that all right wing Republicans are not the same, she puts Democrats in the same box and blames all of us for being the exact same. But you don't want us to do it to you. And I don't put all right wing people in the same because, again, I have friends who are, and everybody's not the same and don't believe the same. Like, for instance, Jessica, you are more conservative, in politics than I am, but you also don't always agree with everything on that side. And the same with me. I don't always agree with Democrats, and I don't always agree with the right wing. I'm like somewhere. I guess I'm independent at this point.
You mean
But
you're a regular
I have
person
a
who
brain.
has a spectrum
I
of
have a brain.
thoughts?
Because my thing is, when did we get this whole notion that if you're one thing, and that's the same thing, race, um, because you have people who say, well, all police are not the same. Well, all Black people are not the same. All Democrats are not the same. Well, no, and all Republicans are not the same. So when did we start getting to know people and having conversations so that we won't have these microaggressions that become major aggressions that become tears in the community and in society, and then we have just everybody's just being offended all at one time. Now, granted, this is not where I meant for this conversation to go, but I had to since we brought up the whole like don't at me thing or don't come at me, like it really is. And during the election, I got so tired of hearing people say, well, if you're voting for this person or if you don't believe in, President Trump, then you're not a patriot, then you're not an American and you're against America. And that is not the truth. And I've had other Black people say like, or other not Black people, I've heard other races on some social media say like, if you're completely supportive of your own race, then you can't be supportive of the things of the government. How is that not like, I am a very proud African American woman. I am, I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very proud of my family. I'm very proud of all of those things. You can't tell me that I can't be cool with America because I'm Black. Like, that's dumb. Like,
It's such a small-minded proposition that to be pro one thing means that you must be con another thing. Like,
mhm,
like I'm pro having money to pay my bills. Doesn't mean I'm anti people who can't pay their bills. It just means that I wish that everybody could pay their bills and I wish I could pay my bills. Like, that's
mhm,
not, we have made these broad generalizations that have no foundation in
mhm.
like reality, and
But
then
these
we've
are the
said that
same
they are.
people popping. A lot of these same people were on TikTok talking about their fireworks and their, and why? When did it? Is there a contract of America that I don't know about that you have to pop fireworks on Fourth of July? Like, where did that even come from? Is it because of the song? Because the song was written like nine
In an
thousand years
actual
ago.
battle, it was actual cannon and people actually dying. So maybe we just don't do that anymore. Like, my whole thing is like, we and understand what I mean when I say this. We have an entire generation of people who don't remember September 12th,
Mm,
2001.
mhm,
I vividly remember September 12th, 2001. And I say
mhm.
this as someone who is Arabic in heritage.
Yes.
And I very carefully did not talk about being Arabic in heritage for a while
Mhm.
after September 11th because it was, people were angry.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean,
so we didn't talk about that part of who I was. I wasn't that I wasn't proud of it. It just wasn't important to me
mhm,
because what was important to me was I identified first as a woman of faith. And I saw that there were people who, for the very first time in their lives, were so shaken to the core of who they were by the tragedy of what had happened in our country that they were willing to listen and see a
mhm,
perspective that was different than their own. And honestly and truly, a majority of people that I knew were that way. It's always the
mhm,
outliers who
mhm.
say and do stupid crap until it seems recently. It seems like in the last 2 years, things have just escalated beyond control. It's just nuts. But on
It's so
September 12th,
crazy.
2001, I remember exactly that feeling of I have never seen our country more united in one thought and one mind, because it wasn't about, we were united against a common enemy, right? We were united
Mhm,
against someone
mhm,
who was coming into our house, and it didn't matter if our house was black or white or
mhm,
yellow or
mhm.
green or purple or scarlet or black or ochre or peach or ruby or olive and violet and
Oh,
violet.
okay.
Little Joseph reference there. But like, it didn't matter because this was our house and someone had come in
Mhm,
and that wasn't okay. And there were so many
mhm,
people who were hurting.
mhm,
And now we have lost the empathy of that. 20 years later, we are so without empathy and so jaded and so selfish and so prideful as a people,
mhm,
no matter what skin color we find ourselves. And we have made skin color the defining factor of who we are as a people. We have made our
mhm,
political values the defining factor of who we are as a people. We have made so many other things other than what is actually important for defining who we are as a people. We have
mhm.
made those the primary things. And as much as I pray with every part of my heart that September 11th never happens again, I would not be sad at all if we didn't live every day like there was another September 12th. That I miss.
Yeah.
September 11th
September
was horrible.
12th was like, you're right. It was very much a coming together of people. It didn't matter what
Yeah.
happened, who it was, because there was a common enemy. But also, in the same respect, a lot of our Arabic and Middle Eastern brothers and sisters were being targeted even then because visually we knew the enemy was of that descent.
Right.
And that's unfortunate because
Well, no, and I
we
get it. And I'm
really
not saying it was perfect. And especially
oh
again,
no.
I was like,
I
I
wasn't I
vividly
agree with
remember
you.
the conversations, and I like remember going, hey, you guys, like, to people that I was close with, I was like, hey, that I'm Arabic, right? Like, like that's a thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that there was very quickly, as I recall hearing it, it was very quickly like we were coming against anybody who was of that mindset. Like that
Yeah.
got, it was still there because some people are going to be bad people that will always
Hmm.
be with us. Um,
Hmm.
but there was also a very strong like, hey, no. It's outside. We're going to go
Hmm.
find the people who did this. And that's a whole
Hmm.
other conversation about wars and all that kind of stuff. But that's not what I
Yeah,
mean.
that's
I am
another
just talking
thing.
about this sense of brotherhood that we had.
No, I was with you. I just
Yeah.
wanted before someone was like, but then because
Again,
again,
because everybody's going
people
to
can
come at
come.
us because you
Um,
can't have a nuanced conversation anymore.
and there are things I don't celebrate. I mean, like I said, it's not like I go all out on Fourth of July. It's not something where I'm like, I'm gonna talk about people who do. Do you? It's not, you know. What I don't celebrate is Columbus Day, at all. Like, it's not even a non-starter anymore. We don't even get the day off at school anymore. Like we
But when will we
we
get our
used to.
mattresses now if we don't celebrate Columbus Day? Where will we
Now,
get our mattresses?
as being partially indigenous in culture,
Right.
I do understand that aspect. And, there's a joke from Barbershop
I love
about
that
Rosa
movie.
Parks. And one person said, and though I never thought it was funny, but this is kind of my thought on Christopher Columbus as well. You know, somebody was like, Rosa Parks, all she did was sit down on a bus. Okay. So in essence, okay. Columbus, all he did was accidentally stumble upon somewhere he wasn't trying to be, and then said he found it when he didn't.
And
So,
then, bring with him a raft of disease and
and
chaos.
and then tour a whole, and especially like California. California was pretty much all indigenous and Hispanic cultures before we like decided to. But see, America, we've done some stuff though. Because then when I went to Hawaii for my first time in Hawaii, all
Oh, that's
excited,
a fascinating
and
story.
because that, I mean, again, it can be a whole nother podcast. But I'll say this: I went. We were at the um, University of Hawaii. We were doing like a choral exchange day with their choir, and they were teaching us a couple of traditional Hawaiian pieces. And one song, because we performed it in our concert, it was actually about the queen, the last
Oh,
queen of
Aloha Oi.
Hawaii. Yes,
I love that
and
song. It's beautiful.
oh, no, it wasn't Aloha. It was a different one.
Okay.
It basically talks about how America came in and stole the country and locked her up in a tower
Yeah,
and
that was sketch.
painted the windows so she couldn't see out and took over. Like, it was crazy. And I was like sitting here like, dang, we suck. Like, that was literally my first
There's
thought.
a
I
really
was
good
like,
movie.
dang, America. And my mom told me about the movie when I came home, and I told her about what I had learned. And I mean, I'm grown. I was for real. I was an adult. I was in my late 20s, early 30s at that point. And I was just like, we suck. We did that. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I felt. And so when I first sang the song, I literally started crying because I can just picture this beautiful queen
Mm-hmm.
and the love that her country had for her to even, they would write her. The only thing that people, because they wouldn't let her have news. They didn't do anything. And because they painted her windows white, you couldn't see out. So her people would reach out to her by rolling up flowers in newspaper. And that's how she knew what was going on in the world. They didn't think about the fact that she was seeing the newspaper. They were just like, they at least was giving her the flowers and the lace and stuff that they would send so she could see. And they were sending her notes and things. And I was just like, these people really loved
Mm-hmm.
their queen. They loved her. And one of our performances, the family, the descendants of the last royal family,
Mm-hmm.
they were actually in
Oh,
attendance at
wow.
that service. They had like 3 rows and they still had like their royal
Yep.
stuff or whatever. And it was amazing. And I learned that. And I'm like, there's a lot that they don't teach us in school. And, we think of it like a lot of people who are now woke, especially in the Black culture, they're like, there's so much we don't know about our Black history, which we don't. There's so many things that we didn't learn in school. I learned a lot from my family, from my mom, because they passed down stories. But then there's other cultures and things that we just didn't think about. Like, I would have never thought the way Hawaii was really taken, that's not in the history books. It's not something we talk about, how we accurately procured the state. Like,
Well, and I don't know because I
granted, I'm
didn't grow
glad
up
I
in
don't need
Hawaii.
my passport
Right.
to go there, but
And the thing is, like, I think some of it is like, I don't know what they teach. Fourth grade history in California is California history. And we
mhm,
learn about our history in California. And every state you're in, you learn the history of that state theoretically in fourth
mhm,
grade.
mhm,
So I don't know what that gets told, but like you sit there and I think about, so I have the privilege of running a program for the college where we work with high schools to give them courses that are college credit while they get high school credit at the same time, dual enrollment.
mhm,
And one of the classes that we offer, actually a couple of the classes that we offer are history classes, right? And
mhm,
so the one class for one semester, and you and I took this class, is US history to 1865. And
mhm,
then the next class is US history since 1865. And you think
mhm,
about that. You are cramming 200 years of history
mhm, mhm,
into 16 weeks of learning. If
mhm,
if that, right?
mhm,
15 weeks of learning really. So you're
mhm.
cramming 200 years into 15 weeks. And then we're like, well, I didn't learn this in school. Well, no. Like, how can we learn all of this in school? Yeah, we could do a better job of what we pick and choose to teach, I think, 100%. But part of that
That's
is,
my point. Like, we
yeah,
need to find.
But we also need to do a better job of educating ourselves. Like people just
And
don't
our
read,
families.
they don't educate themselves. My husband was a history
Mm-hmm.
major, and the stuff that he tells me, he's like, did you know, and I was like, no. But he literally had like 2 years of classes about all this stuff,
Right.
you know? And then I say, well, did you know that there's a chord progression that goes like this? And he says, no. And I said, well, you should have learned that. And then, you know, that's how I make myself feel better.
That's hilarious. I mean, you're right. There isn't, you have a certain amount of weeks that you do or whatever. But I think the older I've gotten, I've learned that some of the accuracy of even the things that we did
well,
learn
that's true.
are not correct. That's more so what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. As well as there's some things, like you said, we're choosing to not, there's states right now who don't want to teach Black history at all because they're saying it's depressing or something. And it's a part of American history, no matter how you slice it. We were brought here. Let's just be real about it. We were brought here and we're part of the American story. And that history does need to be learned because if we're going to move forward, if we're going to evolve, if we're going to have all of this, whatever, you got to have the root of where it is. You can't learn the fluffy parts. You can't just even learn about the victories of things. You have to know where it came from. How crazy would it be if we just opened the Bible and eventually it skipped a lot of the things and it was like he got it from the grave? Well, what happened before that? Like, how did he die? Like,
Right.
what are we supposed to learn about this? Like, we're skipping parts. Can you imagine? Like, it's the same concept to me, as far as history and learning and even so when I'm teaching at school, I choose to not just teach Black history during the month of February, because there's so much that I can't get done, especially in regards to teaching music and theater,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's so much that
Yeah.
goes on. Now, I don't spend all of our months on it. I integrate things because I also, you know, I I also teach about Hispanic Heritage Month, which it's not necessarily my job to do so, but I incorporate it with our music lessons and with our dramatic lessons. I teach about Women's History Month because it's important. So I feel like if I can do that with just my little situation of teaching music and theater after school, and I'm choosing to make things, like I had a little girl, one of my first years teaching, and we were doing our Black History program. She was Hispanic, and she went to a different school the year before. They had never taught her about Black history at all. So we were doing our Black history program and she's in the corner crying, like we're practicing or whatever. And she had never heard about slavery. She had never heard about anything. And she was freaking out. And so all the Black kids are like, what's wrong with you? Like, she was like, I never heard. She was so genuine and so real. She was a third grader that year. She said, my other schools never taught Black history. And we never did it. We never talked about it. So this was her first experience in third grade. Talented, one of my most talented students. I was so sad when she left in fifth grade. But she had no clue about it. And even being Hispanic herself, learning some things about Hispanic Heritage Month, her family hadn't taught her some of those things. So I'm like, how do we get better when we're not being honest in the reality or the foundation of these things? Like, I know we started this off by talking about firecrackers. I have no idea how we got here, but we did, and we digress with Joy and Jess. That's who we are. But where do we, in jokingly saying, where did fireworks for real come from on 4th of July? Like, honestly, who started that? Why are we not educated on that? Because you have people who are having family functions and blowing up stuff and don't know why they're doing it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was rednecks.
Okay, the fact that you said it, I'm gonna just let that go because I couldn't have said that. But that's funny. I'm not gonna lie, I thought about it, but
I mean, to be fair, I watched a lot of Mythbusters, and I have to say I do enjoy things that blow up. I mean, like in a controlled environment.
I do too.
Not over my house.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I like chemistry because I got to blow things up. But and mix combinations and things blew up. Now I'm not sciencey. I just like the whole like effect of things blowing up.
The equivalent of that now is baking, which is essentially chemistry, a benevolent
Which is
chemistry.
why I'm not a baker. I fake and
Same.
bake. It's fake and bacon. I help.
It's shake and bake and I help. My
That's
grandma used to
my
make shake
motto.
and bake all the time when I was a kid, and she
For those of
legit
you
had me help.
who are maybe way younger than us listening to this, shake and bake was like an actual thing.
It's
Now,
still
though
selling.
my family never did shake and bakes. I don't know, but I know people who did shake and bake. I've tasted shake and bake, but
It's a very specific taste, and I haven't had it in years because my grandma been gone for a long time.
it's a
But
very
like,
specific thing.
it is. It's like a very specific flavor of shake and bake. I should just go get some at the store and be
I
like,
just remember the
"Congratulations,
commercial
Don.
and
We're
be
getting
like,
shake and bake."
it's shake and bake and I help.
It's
That used to
shake
be
and
my
bake.
favorite.
Yeah.
Because we don't have cool commercials like that anymore. Or like theme songs. Like there was a whole thing about theme songs the other day. Like we can actually make that an episode because I am a advocate for theme songs. Like my mom used to be so annoyed with me as a kid because I sang all the theme songs, and
No,
I
do you
still
know that you
do
have
at
ruined me for the
almost
K
40.
Jewelers commercials? This girl, every time we would go to the mall, she would walk past the K Jewelers and be like, "Every kiss begins with K."
And I still do it.
Like every time we pass, like one of the stores, I hear your voice.
It's real because I still do. I still do it, and people who don't know me look at me like, "What is wrong?"
Yeah.
And every kiss begins with K, and I would also do because there was a Ben Bridge in there,
Yeah.
and
Your
we
personal
would come to jeweler Ben Bridge.
There
I
it
used
is.
to do that all the time.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored, but if you wanted to
If you want to
sponsor,
sponsor us, come on
we are
down.
down.
Right?
I like jewelry. Anyway. This
So
is supposed to be about revenge stories. We've had political stuff in between.
uh,
Just know that sometimes we can plan things and then our mouths go somewhere else. But
this is what happens when you're
revenge
friends for
story
20
number
years.
2.
Okay,
Yes,
so
for sure.
we'll do this. Since we are talking about revenge, I'm going to tell an actual revenge story. I a time when I did get legitimate revenge. I felt better about it. And you know the person, you know the other party of the story. So
Do I?
you do. So one day I'm driving with my family. This is when gas was inexpensive and we could afford to like go for a Sunday drive. And my mom and dad were in the front seat, and I think my grandparents were with us. Maybe it's just me in the back seat. I don't know. I was in college. I was finishing up college, and we were driving through like Temecula. We were driving down that way because the wildflowers were blooming. And we're like, oh, let's go look at the flowers. And my phone rings, and I don't recognize the number. And I pick it up. My cell phone rings. I'm like, hello. And it's like, hi, this is so-and-so from Primerica, I think it was. And Christian gave me your phone number, and I wanted to know if you wanted to talk about, just wanted to, take a minute and talk to you about your financial planning and your financial future. I was like, I'm 21 years old. I work a part-time job and I barely pay my bills. We're not talking about my financial future. And tell Christian, thank you so much for giving you my phone number. Take me off your list, please. I was nice about it, but I was annoyed. I was like, oh, really, Christian? You giving my phone number out to people?
The same Christian that tried to kill him?
Christian Herman, I am calling you out on this right now so that 20 years later, not cool, bro. Not cool. So I was like, oh, it's on. We're gonna get some retribution for this. And I thought long and hard about it. And we all had mailboxes at the college, right?
We did.
Do you remember this?
We felt fancy. I'm starting to remember the story a little bit.
So I went online. This is the early-ish days of the internet. The internet was a thing, but it wasn't like it is now where there was everything.
It wasn't like online. A common thing, like everything wasn't online. Because did we have internet in our dorm? We did.
No, towards the end we did, but at the first year, I literally ran a 50-foot phone cord and had dial-up in my computer.
Yeah.
But because that's how it was. This would have been 2003 or 2004 at this point.
Yeah.
And so I went online and I signed Chris up with his school mailbox to receive sewage treatment monthly newsletters, like the the monthly newsletter for the Sewage Treatment Association, like some sewage treatment association. I signed him up to receive free samples of feminine hygiene products, and I like sent them to Christine Herman.
I do remember this.
Like he just got signed up for everything. I had his email address, so I spammed his email. Like, I still remember his email because I signed him up for so many things.
The moral of the story is don't mess with Jess.
Like it's annoying, and he's probably still on mailing lists for it somewhere. But you gave my information to a Primerica sales dude, or like some, not even Primerica. I think it was the one that's not legit, or which one's, I don't know. There's one that's legit and that sounds like it, and then there's another one that's not legit that's like an MLM.
Yeah.
And he gave me
only thing in my head is Primerica, and then Primerica people actually get on my nerves at this point anyway, still in life. So
it was one of those financial planning things. Could have been Primerica, could not have been. But I'm like, for reals, bro, no. And I chose the semi-nuclear option. I feel like the nuclear option would have been worse, but I could have really taken it to the nth level. There were some mailing lists I could have signed him up for that would have gotten him on like a government list, and I wasn't going to go that far.
Oh my. See, I don't think I have any actual revenge stories like that I've done to people. Like, I may have thought about it, but I don't even have any like plot twists. Like, you have a whole like arsenal of like revenge fantasies. Like, I don't have that, which surprisingly you would think I would, but I don't. Like, I'm sitting here thinking like I don't have a story to add to this because
like I am deeply petty
I
in
let
my
the Lord
heart.
fight my battles.
And to be fair, I usually
Jesus
do.
Thing to say right now.
But I do have ideas on how he could do it, is all I'm saying.
Oh no. I mean, I guess if I really think about it, I could like be like, Lord, you already know. I mean, I did the whole thing with the collard greens with Jared, and I knew it was gonna be too hot. So I guess that's kind of a revenge thing. Because you don't tell me that my greens aren't spicy enough, and then you be like, it needs to be hotter. Oh, you want hot? I'm gonna give you some hot. Because there's already serrano peppers in it. Like, bro, it had to be hot. But then you want me to blow your mouth and your tish off. Got it. So I guess that's no.
Well, have I told the story of sitting next to my ex-boyfriend on the plane?
Yes, you have. It was in season 1.
Yeah.
And that was funny. That
to me is like the best kind of revenge, because it's the revenge you don't do anything for. You just live your best life. And it's like, oh, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually going to say something similar. Like, one of the best, revenges is honestly like live your life. Like, I know people who, and I think I said this in the last episode, like, who have literally put their families in my face and their marriages and their children and all this thing. And granted, I still don't have a marriage or a child yet, but I'm doing your best life. I'm doing pretty well. I mean, things could be better, but or even, here in high school when I was the sick girl, I was always sick. And, people see me now, they're like, oh my God, you look so great. And I'm like, thanks. I always get like thrown off when people are like, oh, wow, you're so pretty. Was I not cute before? Like when we run into people who knew me when I was a kid, like my mom's people, like they're like, "Oh my gosh, you just grew up to be such a pretty girl. Was I an ugly child?" Like my mom would be like, "Joy, no." Like it's just what people not what say. They meant. You need to just say it differently. Then just be like, "Oh wow, you're still pretty." Like to me, no,
not either. Oh, you're still pretty.
You're still cute. Good job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel better about that than, oh, you grew up to be so pretty. Like, was I not a cute 6-year-old? Like,
you're still pretty. I'm so surprised. I thought for sure you were going to get ugly.
Or what's the other one? Like, wow, you grew up. What am I supposed to do? Am I not supposed to grow? Like, are we supposed to stay little? Like,
you haven't seen me in 30 years. I was 10.
Now, mind you, I might be the same height I've been since high school, but
I always feel like that weird, like creeper adult. So I hadn't seen any of my piano students in like 15, 18 months because, pandemic. And I had my, back in person lessons with my kids. And I knew
Mm-hmm.
going in that they were going to be like 1,800 feet taller. And I'm like, okay. So I go
Mm-hmm.
in and sure enough, they're all ginormous. And I'm like, you got so big. And I'm like the adult in the room going, oh, I have no chill. Like,
No, I don't either. Because, last week I told you I was going to church in person for the first time. And this week I'm actually going back again because my mom is preaching on Sunday.
awesome.
And guys, I can't wait because in a couple weeks she is going to be on the
I'm so
show.
excited.
So excited. But she's preaching this week. And so we'll be back. But I spent most of the Sunday walking back and forth to the bathroom with my 3-year-old niece because she needed to wash her hands every 5 seconds because she was eating chocolate donuts in church. But I was there. It was like, come on, Auntie. And I was just like, okay. I mean, I heard the sermon. The sermon was great. I was glad to be back at church. People were very surprised to see me because some people have been back several weeks ago and we have not. And so they were very surprised and very happy to see mom and I, both there or whatever. And, but I had most of my Sunday, I had Adonis falling asleep on the side of me. Andrew was helping with sound and he was like, oh my God, I'm such a preteen. That's like, I'm so like over life and I'm cooler than everybody. Like, that's his whole mood now, hence the swag. But I'm still the cool auntie. So he still like comes to tell me whatever. It's like, auntie, oh my God. Like, it's that. It's that. And then there's Amora with this high pitched voice like her mommy. And let's see. Like and then she wanted to do photo shoots. And so if you go to my Facebook and my Instagram, guys, you can see pictures.
So
Literally,
cute.
I probably have more pictures of her than I have of anyone at this point. Her one brother does not like to take pictures. The middle brother, Adonis, he doesn't do pictures like that. So I have more pictures of Andrew and Amora, but it was interesting because I walked in and I would just make this face like, and she was like, she matched my match, so I didn't feel so weird about being like the creepy auntie all excited to see her. Mind you, I had just seen her on Tuesday at John's Incredible Pizza, and I was still tired probably from then because we literally walked around the entire thing and got on pretty much all the games except for the roller coaster and the bumper cars. I'm tired, but um, yeah, it has nothing to do with revenge stories. They're just cute.
Right. I got to snuggle my sister's baby for the first
I'm
time.
so happy
Oh
that you did.
man. Like I was there the day she was born. Like I held her the day she was born. In her, like she was in her bassinet. She was like, yeah. And so she, bless her heart. I mean, I got to chat with her really for the first time since COVID because she and her husband bought a house. I mean, they've done a lot since in the last year. Like they've managed to do a lot, but like she's got a new job. Like it's a whole thing. But
Oh
I
wow.
never met the
Mhm.
baby. And like a lot of their family had not met the baby because she's a nurse. So like she's a nurse, brand new baby. They were living with his folks, her
It's like
mom.
no.
Yeah. So they were super locked down. And so this was the first time that I had met Lane. And I was just like, and he's going to be a year next end of the month.
You
And
show
I'm
me a
like,
picture. He's adorable. I think the funniest thing
oh,
when you posted that on Facebook, people were like, "Did I miss the thing? Did you say your sister?" And I was just like dying laughing inside
I'm
because
like,
I know. So Jessica and I are both. Well, I'm my mother's only child. Jessica, her parents' only child. So when we say we have siblings or we talk about people, they're not like. I do
it's
have
not
one
like blood.
biological sister, right? I have one biological sister, Shani. She's my half sister. We have the same father, but and then my other siblings or my step siblings, and then we have God siblings or God siblings, as in God brought them in our lives, that
Right.
kind of thing. So when we talk about having siblings and it's people who know that we're only children, people are like, wait, what now?
Wait, what? Be like, well, and yeah. So like her and her sister, her older sister, their dad has been best friends with my dad since they were in the 8th grade. And so like Randy and Diana and my mom and dad, like the OG, right? And then we all
Mhm.
had kids. They all had kids, and now they all have kids. So Alyssa and her husband James have 2 super cute kids, Joy and Bear.
Mhm.
who was and Alyssa was a rock star at our wedding because she had given birth like 6 days earlier, and she was my she's my matron of honor, and like she was just a beast mode rock star superwoman. And then now Nikki's gotten married and she's had a baby, and it's like it's all this like they are. I with pandemic and stuff, I didn't really see them, and we would chat on Facebook every once in a while or Instagram or whatever, but like hadn't seen him. And I would see him a couple times a year at least because they all live kind of far now. But it's like, that's family. It doesn't matter how like separated we are.
Yeah,
family. We grew up together. Like that's the thing. And so it cracked me up and be like, some family is not by blood. Some family you get to
literally
choose.
By heart.
Yeah.
It's literally by heart.
So
well, I guess that's a good way to end it. Well, we started with revenge and talking about the happy moments of family because, people say you can't choose your family, and the blood ones you can't. But we have both been blessed to have some pretty amazing heart family.
Right.
God purposed family in our lives, and that's been really cool, and including each other because we're not only friends, we're pretty much family. So
like I think I call your mom like
and I've called your mom for 20 years.
That's how we do. It's funny, and as a side note, my very first revenge story was against my Uncle Randy. I signed him up for stuff once upon a time.
You did that to Randy? I did not know that.
Oh yeah, I was like in high school, and he had been messing with me, and we went to the Home and Garden show, the Anaheim Home and Garden show, and I just signed him for everything on the planet because he had annoyed me, and so I took my revenge. Actually, he did it to my mom. There was like a battle, like a war back and forth between Randy and Diana.
I can see that.
And Dad. I just brought it forward, and now have done my own thing. So,
well, let's also preface this with Jessica's father is like the king of pranks, and he was kind of like the school like prankster at our college where we went to. So Jessica, like they would hear her last name like, oh,
and everyone get a little bit worried.
You're Jay's child, and then they would get a little concerned.
That is 100% accurate.
Or it would be are you the same Mahan as the Mahan who went here?
Are you related to Jay?
Blah, blah. Yeah. I've seen professors actually get concerned.
And then I didn't have the gumption that my dad did. So, but that's
your dad was doing stuff like getting inside of dryers and whatnot.
Yeah, my dad crazy.
He is, but I love him.
Right? He's a good dude. Hey, this has been fun.
It has been fun. Remember, we are not encouraging you to get revenge on people. But, if you have some funny revenge pranks or something that you've done that you were like, it was petty, but I did it, hit us up. Tell us about it. We want to know.
What is your petty revenge story? We want to know. You can either leave us a comment on where this video and or this audio is posted, or you can go to our website, joyandjess.com. Leave us a audio message right there. Let us know, and you could be featured in a future episode of the show. So you can catch us there. You can catch us on our Instagram, which is, I always get this wrong. It is We Digress.
We Digress with Joy_Jess.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. We got it out there. We'll get it eventually. One of those two.
Yeah.
We're professional.
We'll get there. We are. So, sort of. Thanks for listening and or watching. Yeah. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on the web at joyandjess.com. That's JOIANDJESS.com. We'll see you next week.